2000, in the year 2000. And that was about cancelling the unfair debts owed by low-income countries to rich countries. And I didn't understand all of the ideas about it, but whenever it was on the news, I'd feel really sort of emotional. And it's not the facts and figures that they might bore me to tears, but it's not that sort of interests me. It's the idea that there could be a fairer world, things being equal. There could be a completely different system that would probably suit me more, one that had more value for creativity and poetry, more space for that. Yeah, I think I'd feel more at home in that world. So that's what I find moving. Yeah, and my starting point with poetry was probably this one that I wrote. Can't remember how old I was, but yeah, I'm not sure if I'll take it to the nature poetry session, but we'll see. Just 2 lines. The sea has a funny effect on me. It clings to my legs like washing clings to pegs. Thank you. So yeah, there's some good rhymes in there, but maybe not so focused on the facts and the science. So that's not my thing so much. But I do want to share these sort of exciting economic ideas that I think could change the world, but I'm not someone who can remember facts and figures, so it's in a poem form. It's called Dumping Santa, and it sort of brings up some of the ideas, some of the problems with the current economic system. So I'll perform that, and then afterwards can see what ideas it brings up about the problems with our economic system, and then look at a fairer alternative. Thank you. Oh, if everyone's just check they're on mute, and if you have got any questions about any of it, there'll be a chat box thing at the end. But I'm very easily distracted, so yeah, probably best not to put anything in there just yet. Thank you. So I said to Santa, get out of my house. You've got the sack, now leave. I can see right through your little outfit. Let's just say, I no longer believe. You turn up here once a year, uninvited, with about 6 deer, creep around, then disappear. I'm starting to question your choice of career. You're all over us in October, raising our expectations, but you're not man enough for when January's tough with the debt and the desperation. You've promised things we can't afford. By Boxing Day, the kids are bored. You've no idea when you're not around what it's like to live here on the ground. You groom our kids with your adverts, and then they sit on your knee, and while they're enthralled in the shopping mall, you share your philosophy. You say, what you want is more stuff. No such thing as enough. Good children are loaded. It's the same thing as love. All those are not our values. I do not agree. Give me truth and simplicity, sleep and sunlight, peace and equality. The gifts you give, they don't even last. Just dump them straight in the landfill when you're flying past. It's all such a waste. You're throwing so much away, trashing the planet for the sake of one day. So no, I don't want your plastic tat. I won't decorate another dying tree. You can keep your grotto. I've just set all your reindeer free. And I know who does all the work backstage. Pay those elves restacking shelves a flipping living wage. Ho, 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 let's calm it down, said Santa, and focus on you. Have a chocolate coin or two. So, individual morality. Are you good or bad this year? Let's see. You'd be very brave getting your kids to behave without any help from me. I'm trying hard to give my children roots and wings, and skills and resilience for whatever life brings. Warmth and encouragement, trips to the swings. I don't need you to tell me how to give good things. If we've got enough to pay our rent, some for food and fun, that's me content. We've got friends, good neighbours, community support. We need more trees and bees, fresh air, clean seas, things that can't be bought. Your gut tells me that constant consumption is not healthy. Your greed is going to cost the earth to benefit the wealthy. In nature, you don't get unlimited growth unless it's called cancer and it's killing its host. I want to discuss what's right and wrong and how this system can't last for long. Stop shaking your snow globe. We need something new. You stop us seeing clearly what we have to do. It's not in your interest to make us aware, but I know there are better solutions out there. Basic income, project drawdown, donut economics, and mothers of invention. Citizens' assemblies with real power, climate emergency bill legislation, solutions, creations, and innovations, restoration beyond that zero carbon goal. You are no use here if your best idea is, let's give every bad kid a lump of coal. Then Santa showed his true colours. His face changed to match his suit. Filled with rage, his fake laughter fades. He raises his voice and puts in the boot. I represent the 1%, and they won't tolerate dissent. Shareholders don't want sharing and caring and swapping. I need you all to keep on shopping. It's too late, Santagate. You've been exposed. Get out of here, unless you want to match that deer with a bloody nose. We've been conned by your fluffy white-collar crime. You've fleeced us all. You should be doing time. You are out of control. Go on home to the pole. You've lost your moral compass. Take a good look in your soul. Be on your way. Get on your sleigh. You're going to wake the neighbours with this Christmas display. But before you go and silhouette yourself against the dawn, you can clear that deer poo off my lawn. Thank you. Right, so I'm just going to go and stick my head out the back door and grab a glass of water, and I'm going to get up the PowerPoint for the economics bit. So hang in there. Yeah, realise you might need to take a moment. If I've just killed Christmas for you, or if you do still believe in Santa Claus, then yeah, just take a moment, just 1 minute. Brilliant. Right, so take those off to, yeah, that's one. All right, that's fine. Okay, thank you. Is it working? Go ahead. Okay, brilliant. Okay, yes, so the poem, it's not just about Christmas, which is good because I'm reading it in February. But some of the problems with our economic system are just sort of more obvious at Christmas than they are maybe all year round. Just that need to buy lots of things we don't need. And I was going to call it at one point Santa Ranta, because I do sort of list loads of things that are problematic with it. and a lot of things that are actually problematic all year round. So we've got waste and the debt contributing to the climate crisis, disposable culture, nothing designed to last, the unequal society, people on very low incomes, it's not enough to live on, no value given to those caring jobs, and no concept of having enough or being content with what we've got. And the idea that happiness, value and love are related to income and possessions. And the advertising at children, and then getting really disappointing presents compared to how it looked on the advert. Might not be the biggest issue, but still part of the problem. Can I have the next slide, please? So, that's it, brilliant. So our economy is based on continuous growth. It's always growth equals good. When you hear about the economy, you think it's growing, that's good, and we don't really question that. And we currently measure that growth using GDP. So GDP, the gross domestic product, the value of all the goods and services measured in a year that's sort of bought by the final user. It was invented in the 1930s, and it's now 10 times larger than it was in the 50s, but that wealth has only gone to a small percentage of people, got the super rich, and then still so much poverty. But this GDP is still used as a measure of a country's development and progress, even though there are a lot of problems with it, as we'll see from the next slide. So, interestingly, I was surprised to discover GDP does include the illegal drugs trade. I don't know how they actually calculate that, but that's part of what adds to our, when we're talking about how well we're doing GDP-wise. So it's something like cleaning up oil spills, all the products and labour and financial transactions that go into that, that's adding to our GDP. And these activities and products are not necessarily of benefit to society are actually included in that. On the other hand, what's not included is all the caring and volunteering work, raising children, if you're fetching firewood and water, that's not included in there. The sharing economy, so I'll babysit for you if you teach me to ride a bike. Wikipedia, anything that's called the Creative Commons, these shared things that don't involve financial transactions, not in there. It doesn't show that wealth inequality. You could have a high GDP in a country and doesn't reflect that wealth might be with a small proportion of the population. Also doesn't show the limits of the planet, and this really stark illustration of that. It's on the next slide, but it doesn't take into account any of the natural resources. So here we've got the example of the Amazon, and this is Amazon the company, as in distributing parcels all around the world and supplying Christmas presents. In terms of GDP, Amazon the company is worth 1.66 trillion, whereas Amazon the rainforest, lungs of the planet, home to all the creatures, possible medicines we haven't discovered, and the rest of it, is worth absolutely nothing in terms of GDP. It's only of value in terms of GDP if you cut it down and sell the logs or turn it into farmland. So I think it's worth looking at an alternative to this current economic system that is not reflecting where we are, helping us go where we need to go. So now we come on to the more colourful stuff. This, we're going to leave behind the grey lines, the way we've always done, business as usual, and look at some alternatives. This is about meeting humanity's needs within the limit of the planet and this is called donut economics. So we're looking at imaginative, alternative things with bright circles. This is much more appealing to me as a poet. Okay. So Kate Raworth is a brilliant economist whose concern for the planet and social justice led her to look into different models. And this is her model with a starting point of this safe and just space for humanity. So that's the ring of the donut, that green ring. And the edges of that donut, the bit that's on the ecological ceiling, that's the planetary boundaries. They're the things, the lines we can't cross to keep a safe planet. So that's the limit to the use of resources that we need to keep within. And we're already outside on a number of these. As you can see around the outside is the 9 planetary boundaries, including climate change there at the top, which we're overshooting on. The inner circle is the social foundation. So we do need to use resources for the things we need. And these are sort of the essential things people need for their human rights. These are based on the UN Development Goals. And these are all the essentials for life. And what we want is to make the donut bigger. We want to reduce the size of this hole. We want to bring people out of that hole, because that area represents where people haven't got enough food, water, where there's lack of education, all those issues. In the middle of the donut, we want to reduce that. The space within the donut is about the regenerative and distributive economy. So that's about reusing and recycling the resources we have got and making sure they're fairly distributed between everyone. And at the moment, we've got a sort of linear system for that, where we take stuff out of the earth, we make something with it, we use it, and then we dump it, and it causes pollution. And we want it to be a circular economy where things are being reused and repaired, and that will be within that donut. It's interesting to think about how we as individuals or groups or even cities, how what we do is either inside or outside of that donut, and sort of what direction we're moving in, sort of in terms of that model. It's quite a new idea, but it's starting to be used. I know the city of Amsterdam is looking into all its different departments, sort of looking together at how they can go forward as a city using that model. So if we can go on to the next slide here. So I did summarize this in poetic forms. That helps me remember things like this. And then, there will be some time for asking any questions about that. So I want to say thank you for listening. And in conclusion, I'll very briefly summarize to avoid any confusion. We are all in the same fishbowl. Business as usual has got us in a hole. Donut economics is a possible solution. So let's all discuss an economic revolution. Thank you. So probably feeling by now that you might need a donut. So as promised, there is the vegan donut, several vegan donut recipes there for anyone that's feeling hungry. Also, I realized that was like a whistle-stop tour through donut economics. If you want to hear a bit more about that, look into it more, there are some brilliant kind of just minute-long animations on Kate Raworth's webpage, and lots more discussion about that if you want to find out more. The script from my poem is on my blog, which is www.tamingtheoctopus.net.